Hey, y'all, I'm Ebony K. Williams here, host and attorney extraordinaire. Welcome to Holding Court, where we analyze the very latest in legal headlines, the ones that got all the streets talking. You know what we do? We dig deep into how the courts impact the culture. We break it down, going straight from gavel to your news feed. And every week, we keep it 100. Right, Dustin Ross?
That's right.
Dustin Ross, my lovely, how are you, sweetie?
I'm doing great. E, how you doing after this Resurrection Sunday is upon us? You know,
Listen,
how was your weekend?
Well, now that he's risen.
He got up, 10 toes. Okay?
Baby Liberty say, did you hear the news?
That's right. Okay, he is risen. That was the cutest picture you sent us.
He's so gone. Yeah. No, thank you, baby. Yeah, she had a lovely first Easter. We were able to fellowship and worship with the good folks of FCBC.
Yes, yep, FCBC.
It was a lovely service and a lovely Easter. What I wanted to ask you was, the good folks have seen that God's in the blessing spirit and Dustin Ross is moving on up in the world, quite literally, rooftop and all, quite literally. How are you enjoying your new place, baby?
I love it, Ebony. I just have to get settled in, you know. The movers brought all my shit on Thursday, so I'm just getting in here turning these keys, but I love it. God is so good, and I'm thankful, so very, very grateful. Yep.
I love it. Well, let me be nosy for a minute, because I know you had a great experience with your movers. Now, did they box the stuff up, and unbox it for you? Or like, how much
they would have, but the way my blackness is set up, you know, I'm an old school black person. Okay. And so I said, I'm going to pack the shit myself. I don't want y'all going through my things like that. Got it. Okay. But they would have, they definitely would have offered, they did offer
that is
to.
A service offered. Okay.
Absolutely. Packing and unpacking, and the move was a breeze. Shout out to Roadway Movers, because they really, really helped their boy out.
I think I might have to give them a call when it's time. Okay.
When it's time, they will. Ebony, you won't even have to think about it. They will just handle it. Yes.
Good. Yep. It's gonna be okay. Good. Because I hate moving. Like with a passion. It
is literally one of the most demeaning, arduous,
stressful.
I freaking. I mean,
I've stayed in places way past a time I've wanted to be there, because I just don't want to move.
Yeah, it is nothing. We just bring on the panic and anxiety, right? But
was I talking about my first marriage, y'all? My bad. Go ahead. You know what? Continue.
And on that note, okay, let's talk about somebody else's business before we get to telling too much our own.
That's it. Let's get down to the business of the docket. I love it. Okay, so heavy docket update for y'all on Diddy. I know a lot of people are wondering, where are things standing? Y'all hearing a lot of updates coming through the internet and social media of it all. And this is common, right? We're literally, 2-3 weeks out from trial. So this is what happens when you're that close to trial approaching. It's going to be a bunch of motions, a bunch of pre-trial, this, that, people being added to the trial team, people walking away. So we're going to let you know exactly where things stand, as we are simply a few weeks out from the beginning of the trial of the United States of America v. Sean Combs. That's where we're at. Yep. Okay, we got a lot of updates for y'all on that. And then we will move on to, I saw this case and I was really excited to put it on the docket, Dustin. This is because everybody, and I don't want to downplay, because you can't downplay anything about AI and its impact on the world, society, the economy, job sectors. It's real. However, I was delighted to add this story. This is a story, y'all, of a man in New York who was representing himself, which we'll get into the wisdom of that in a second. But he was representing himself in a court case here in New York and decided to use a little AI support in his attempts to lawyer for himself. And let's just say the shit went very, very wrong. And I put this on the docket, Dustin, as a cautionary tale. I'm not going to sit up here and cap like AI is not going to impact the tradesmanship, if you will, the lawyering as a profession, because it is going to have impact. There's no profession AI is not going to touch. Not one. However, this overstatement, if you will, that a lot of folks, well, y'all lawyers ain't going to have no job no more neither because AI, relax.
Thank God. We need that clarity, Ebony.
Yeah, let's just slow that down, pause for a minute, and let's straighten it a little bit. Okay, so we're going to start with Puff. Here we go. Y'all, yes, get ready, get ready, get ready. May 5th is the day. Okay.
Cinco de Trio.
Cinco de Trio. We might have to go with that 4-episode title, something like it. Listen, pour the margarita, get the
Okay.
sombreros out. It's Cinco de Trio. Okay. May 5th will indeed be the day of the reckoning, the legal reckoning, if you will, the criminal legal reckoning, if you will, for Sean Combs and all of these many allegations. Y'all know that he has 5 federal charges he's been charged with, everything from racketeering, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution. That includes not one but 2 superseding indictments that were added to the original charges that were made from the federal government against Sean Combs back in September of last year. So last fall this started. This spring it will conclude. One way, y'all, or another. Now, what's interesting about this, Dustin, is as we were preparing and producing for this week's episode, we didn't know if the trial was actually going to start on May 5th because Sean Combs and his legal team had made a formal legal request to delay the start of the trial. Why did they do that? Well, that was to be expected because for one reason, they wanted to add to the legal team. So this was, and they wanted to, the theory would go, hey, Your Honor, please allow us a continuance. Let's push out the start of the trial because we want to add a new lawyer to my defense team and to give that new attorney proper, adequate time to comb through all of the evidence, to prepare for trial. As a new team member, they're going to need I would imagine what this discovery war room looks like, several weeks, if not a couple of months, to get kind of up to speed. That was the legal claim. That was the argument, rather. And the judge said, nah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Y'all have had enough time. You've had enough time to cement your legal defense team. You certainly have enough time and money to prepare to adequately defend yourself, Mr. Combs, and said counsel. And we will be starting. And by starting, that's going to start with jury selection. Okay, that's the first part of the trial, right? Before we get to any opening statements or first things must be first. The jury will be selected, and that process will start, Dustin, on May 5th. So, before we go further, how do you feel about the judge denying the motion to delay and saying, no, we about to start this shit on May 5th because it's been a long time coming?
I'm not surprised at all. I don't know why. We haven't seen any movement or any type of grace being given to Sean Combs or his legal his legal team throughout this entire ordeal. Everything they've asked for, every offer to put up the houses and passports and all that shit, none of that has been accepted. So I'm not surprised that the judge I'm not surprised that the judge rejected their request for an extension at all. I'm not surprised at all, and I definitely don't think they should be.
Yeah, be given one. Yeah, and TMZ was reporting, just to kind of get a little more into the minutia, jurors. TMZ specifically was reporting that Diddy was looking to add a black woman lawyer specifically to the defense team, which makes sense. We know that the current team exists of some big names in the legal community, Mark Agnafilo and Tenny Garagos. Those are big time names, but who is no longer on the team was, of course, Anthony Rico, who was, a big fish as well, for sure. I would even say bigger fish in the legal community. And that was a brother. That was a black man, a very high-profile black male attorney. And he walked away from this legal team in February, right around the time that the team decided to move forward with that Mann Act argument, that argument of, this is all coming our client's way. The government is trying to get Mr. Combs because he's a successful, wealthy black man in America. And, Anthony Rico, for whatever reason, said, let me go on about my business. Let's part company. And he walked away from the legal team. So leaving Sean Combs with an all-white legal team. Like that's what's important here. And then we do know that per the legal filings, who has been added recently to the team, just as of last week, is Brian Steele. If that name rings a bell, Brian Steele, another white man, he was lead defense counsel for Young Thug, and who, of course, got a favorable outcome with his trial in Georgia. That history-making RICO trial, of course, being the longest trial in Georgia state history. And I will say, I think Brian Steele being added was a good thing, Dustin, if for no other reason than Brian Steele is fresh off of dealing with the RICO statute type of case. You know, that is a very particular type of charge. It's rooted in the organizational aspect. It's rooted in the variety of players, the different individuals that played roles in the hierarchy and the organizational aspect of it. So I think him coming off of that immediately will be additive to the defense team. But I do agree, if indeed this TMZ reporting is accurate, and I have no reason to believe it's not, that Sean Combs and this team were also looking to add a black woman to this legal team. And I talked about this actually in the recent TMZ documentary. They have several. If you go on Tubi, you can watch it for free, where I sat down with Harvey Levin of TMZ. Yeah, and I went into this, Dustin, because Harvey asked me flat out, Ebony, if you were on Puff's defense team, what type of jurors would you look to avoid? And I said black women, straight up. Black women are not going to, generally speaking, of course, these are generalizations, as is any voir dire counsel. Black women, Dustin, I don't believe, in my expert legal opinion, are going to be favorable for Sean Combs, and here's why. Unlike, now, and Harvey was like, I'm surprised to hear you say that, because black women were so important and favorable for O.J. Simpson's acquittal. I said, and we were as a collective, right? I said, but let me mark some real clear distinctions between what happened with O.J. and what is happening with Sean Combs. First and foremost, you're literally talking about 30 years ago. Secondly, you're talking about a very poignant moment in time when it came to Black America and Los Angeles law enforcement. Okay, you're coming off of the heels of the Watts riots, or uprising rather. You're coming off of the heels of Rodney King. You're coming off of the heels of a Black Los Angeles County community, an American Black community that felt there was no semblance of justice in any way, shape, form, or fashion if you were Black in this country, and damn for sure not if you were Black in LA. And so OJ was able to be the beneficiary of that sentiment in a way that Black America Black America absolutely feels very similarly right now, Dustin, as we know, for all the reasons. But I don't see Puff benefiting in the same way from Black women. Now, let me get to Black. I think that he will benefit from Black men, but let me slow it down.
Okay.
Here's the other difference. And I'm not saying none of this shit is right, y'all. I'm just telling you what I know. Okay.
Right.
I know that OJ's purported victim was Nicole Brown Simpson, a young blonde white woman that Black women, by and large, did not personally identify with. Okay, not saying they didn't feel that she deserved to die, not saying any of that, just saying that there was not a personal identification piece at play with Nicole Brown Simpson. Transfer that to when Cassie walks into that courtroom. And she is going to be walking into that courtroom and testifying. She already said it on record. When some of these other victims, who we don't know their identity yet, Dustin, but very well might be Black women or certainly women of color. And what every Black woman on that jury will know for sure, even though it's likely not going to be admitted into evidence directly, is that Sean Combs spent the majority of his career in an on-again, off-again relationship with a Black woman we all know and love, Kim Porter. And when you think of Puff's impact and per the prosecution, Dustin, his heinous, horrific, painful, disruptive impact to Black women and women that are of color and proximate to Black women, we take that more personally. We're going to generally identify with that closer. And I think because of that, and Black women, I mean, whether we're looking at Meg Thee Stallion recently, whether we're looking at any of it, right? We're gonna harken back to what Malcolm has said 60 years ago, that Black women are the most disrespected, the most disbelieved, the most downtrodden. We are afforded the worst treatment in America. And so if Puff is sitting on that stand or at that defense table rather, representative of just another iteration of the abuse, disrespect, disbelief, coercive, horrific treatment of black women are not going to take kindly to that. That's my lens on it. But I would love to know what you think.
Well, I agree. This is the first time in the history of holding court when I'm literally speechless, because Ebony, that was your expert opinion. And you hit the points 100% on the head. And actually, I'm in a moment right now where I'm not fearful of the outcome because he's going to get what he deserves, but just hearing you break it down the way you just did and the possible outcomes and the different views and perspectives, I feel it's just not going to end good at all for Puff. It's just not.
Yeah.
I feel like it all leads to the same outcome. I'll just put it like that.
Like that way. Yeah, all roads lead to that. Yeah, and so again, we're going to see what, who ends up on the jury. We're going to see what arguments his defense makes. We're going to see what witnesses the prosecution has. We're going to see what evidence is at play. But ultimately, I don't believe what a jury in 2025 is going to do towards Sean Combs is going to look anything like what we saw an LA County jury do in regards to O.J. Simpson in 1995. I just
Very
don't.
different. I actually am a little bit. I understand why it was even mentioned or referenced,
because two black,
right.
black, super famous, super wealthy men on trial against the state or against the government. That was Harvey's kind of simplistic overview,
and it's very simple
see it that way,
right? Because one's a murderer. And the other is in, you know what I'm saying? One was.
Dustin,
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
allegedly, one was on trial for possible murder.
Yeah.
Puffy's crime is not murder, so I just think that
is not murder.
I just think that needs to be, you know what I'm saying? And hearing that come from Harvey Levin of all people, I don't know. But
no, I hear you. It was interesting, but for me, unfortunately, because Harvey is representative of so many that just lack the cultural competency. They just lack the cultural competency. And sometimes some of us that look like us even lack the cultural competency to be able to kind of tease out where these distinctions lie. And that's another thing. Black women, generally speaking, in 95, I believe maybe were more willing to play a little bit of that protect black men at all costs role. Perhaps from a cultural lens, these things evolve over time. And I think that right now, again, whether it's what we saw with Meg Thee Stallion saying time's up on this bullshit, this motherfucker shot me and that's it, that's all. And yeah, I lied about it in the beginning, but fuck all that. Let's go to trial on it. Or all the other iterations where we're seeing black women, whether it's this election outcome, y'all got it, we did our part. I just think black women in general, Dustin, are tired of being the Betty Wright of it all. We're tired of being the cleanup ladies. We're absolutely done with it. I know I think I was born a little done with it, but that's a little bit different. But y'all know Auntie E be moving different. But generally speaking, I think that there is a collective sentiment that y'all got it. And people are going to stand on it, whatever it is. And we're going to let the chips fall where they fall.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's all. I don't think black women are particularly looking to criminalize Sean Combs in any particular way. I don't think black women have a grievance against Sean Combs in any particular way, not generally speaking. But I think black women are saying, let's just see what the evidence says. Let's just hear from the witnesses. Let's hear the defense arguments. And then we're going to go in the jury room and figure it out.
Yeah, it's just that simple. And also, expecting black women to save him in that way, it's just not gonna happen. You're talking about a nigga that was caught on camera beating the hell out of his girl. You know what I'm saying? It's just not the motivation to be the savior. It's just not there. So
Yeah. Now, I'm glad you brought that up. Because that was the one of the other many updates we have for y'all. So Sean Combs' defense team has also, and one more thing about the black woman lawyer, I was going to say, if they wanted to add one, the one that came to my mind first, and probably many of y'all's minds, is Sean Hawley. I would say she's probably the most famous, the most kind of thought of celebrity lawyer when it comes to these types of high profile criminal trials. Sean Hawley has represented everybody from Kim Kardashian at different times. She most recently represented Danny Matheson, from the white guy from that 70s show who was convicted of rape. She represented, she was on Tory Lane's defense team, and he brought a grievance against. But over the course of ever since I was a baby lawyer, Sean Hawley has been that woman. Like when it comes to black women in these super high profile, she was a member of OJ's dream team. So, because she started in LA County Public Defender's Office. Shout out to her, former public defender. Then ended up working for Johnny Cochran at the Cochran firm, being a managing partner there, and then ultimately joining him on the dream team defending OJ. And then has gone on to just build a prolific career. I would say she is the foremost leading black female criminal celebrity defense attorney of our time. I can't imagine who would rival her. So that was my first thought, like just call Sean Hawley. Not sure where those conversations are. We've heard no word of her or any other black woman being added to the team at this point. So right now he's going to have an all-white male team. We'll see how that flies. But back to your point, I think even if Sean Hawley or someone, another black woman were added, I don't see that being a huge difference maker. Now, I think it would be smart. Let me be clear. I think that he would have been wise early on to have a black woman be part of the face of his defense. I don't know what took the motherfucker so long, to be honest.
Right.
I mean, straight up. Yeah, to me, that would have been common sense. As often is the case. That's why you see a lot of, whether it's fathers in child support court or custody situations, they often try to get a female attorney to make that argument for them, so that the, judge or jury, if you will, judge in those cases, can, kind of apply that lens in the facts.
Right.
But anyways, waiting till this late hour to try to get a sister to do it, no thank you. No thank you. Not happening. I cannot see it.
Get somebody else to do it.
This is the definition of get somebody else to do it. And he has. He's lucky for him, or maybe wisely for him, he has selected 3, I have to believe, as adequate as possible white men, so they can do the heavy lifting here. Now, you brought me to a good point, Dustin, which is the Cassie tape of it all. This horrendous tape that all of the world has seen now, where we watch this man, Sean Combs, viciously, violently, aggressively, just, what's the word? Savagely beat on, drag Cassie Ventura. Really looks like within, just it's just horrific. It's just horrific. Now, his defense team has filed a motion to exclude that tape from evidence in this particular federal case. They're saying flat out, Combs has formally asked the judge overseeing the criminal prosecution to exclude this piece of evidence. That is a tape from 2016. We know it was in a Los Angeles hotel where he's kicking and dragging then girlfriend Cassie. The defense asserted that they're claiming that they want the tape excluded, Dustin, because CNN, which first obtained and aired the video, altered and manipulated, sped up the footage, and edited the footage in a way that makes it wholly inaccurate and inadmissible. Now, before I go on further, for me, that's a very weak-ass, laughable legal argument. What you talking about? Because they sped it up. So if we slow the motherfucker down, is it less egregious?
Like what?
If he's dragging her in slow motion, if he's pouncing on her in slow motion, is that somehow better for him? So I thought that was a weak argument. CNN, of course, is denying the accusations. They're saying that they never altered the video. They're also saying that they did not destroy the original copy of the footage, which I tend to believe because it would not be in their interest to destroy such a critical piece of evidence that could be used for anything. But defense counsel for Sean Combs, Alexandra Shapiro, wrote in a court filing last fall that the more complete footage of the incident, in contrast to the government's sensationalized CNN cut, contradicts the government's representations. Here's what I think. And I haven't seen the entire motion to exclude, so this could be in there. But certainly I would have argued, Dustin, that the tape needs to be excluded. And I think it does need to be excluded. And I'll say more on that. Because it is overly prejudicial and it does not serve and provide enough probative value, and that is the test, that any piece of evidence must withstand to deem it admissible or not? Does it have more probative value that it imparts prejudicial effect? And I would argue that this particular videotape, because of the heinous, vicious nature of what is depicted on it, whether it's imposed or not, is so highly prejudicial that any juror that sees that will no longer be able to be objective about the actual accusations of the crime being charged in this courtroom. And what we know, Dustin Ross, is that Puff is not being charged on assault and battery of Cassie as it relates to the footage in that video. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because we talked about this when that video first aired on Holding Court, because people were in an uproar, right? And rightfully so. Why is he not being criminally charged with what we're seeing on this tape, which would have required him to be charged either federally as it related to that or in California state court? And the reason why was because both venues, federal and state, had surpassed their statute of limitations. 1 year in Cali, 3 years federal. There was no statute of limitations that would have allowed for him to be charged criminally for what we saw on that tape. And I believe, as the judge, it should be deemed inadmissible on that basis, Dustin, because I think if it is admitted into evidence, I could see that being one of the issues on appeal. If he's convicted at this stage, then you've got to, I think that's a great issue on his defense team for appeal, and I think it's unnecessary. And then we could end up having to start this shit all the way over for no good fucking reason.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. It's just the complexity of all this is fascinating to me, right? Because the fact that it can even be argued,
right,
whether or not a video of him beating up Cassie is relevant to the case is just, it's fascinating to me.
It is fascinating. Well, from a reasonable kind of human condition place, you're exactly right, Dustin.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. But here's the other part. Here's the tea on it, really. I don't even think that the prosecution needs to admit this video. I really don't, because the reality is, and it's not necessarily right, everybody's already seen it. Who hasn't seen it, or some version of it? And so because people have seen it now, and I also think once it's excluded, and I believe it will be excluded, but we'll see. Judges surprise us all the time. The jury will also get an instruction, likely, Dustin, when they go to deliberate for verdict reasons, to not consider anything you heard or knew about Sean Combs that wasn't presented as evidence in this trial. And that instruction is fine and dandy and legally right. And also, folks will not be able to unsee what they have seen. They will not be able to unknow what they know. And so it's kind of one of those, the toothpaste is already out of the tube situations.
Right.
The bell cannot be unrung. Correct. So I think it would be a misstep to try to force this tape into evidence. But we're going to see. We're going to see.
It's getting good, y'all.
Yeah, it is. And then lastly, this is just kind of more of a smaller update. Cassie is also saying, this is also per TMZ, y'all, that she is looking to not comply with a subpoena, she says, that she has been served by Diddy's legal team, requiring her to turn over all draft memoirs, autobiographies. So basically all the materials related, journals, notes related to a book that Cassie is purported to be publishing around her relationship with Sean Combs. So Puff's legal team is asking her to turn over all materials related to this purported book, as well as her bank statements. And that's very interesting to me as well. I guess they're trying to imply that she's been, bought off or, would be incentivized to lie or misrepresent certain truths about Sean Combs per some bank deal. And then one of Puff's lawyers, the one I mentioned to y'all earlier, Mark Agnafilo, is saying that he has a tape of Cassie telling Puff directly that she had written a book about their relationship and that he could, quote, catch and kill it. Catch and kill is, but I'll sell it to you.
Right.
And nobody will ever, it'll never see the light of day.
Right,
No one will
right.
ever know what's in it for $30 million. And that this was last fall around the time of his arrest. And that, Sean scoffed at the idea and blah, 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 blah. But here we are back again. So if that is to be taken at face value, Dustin, I think my takeaway from that is maybe you shouldn't be scoffing and huffing and puffing so quickly at these offers, Mr. Combs, because it seems like you always end up
Right back.
asking for
Yeah.
right back in the same position, begging and pleading for the position you were originally offered, whether
Yep.
that was catching and killing this book allegedly, or
Yep.
whether that was settling with Cassie before she even filed the civil complaint. This set off this avalanche of accusations
I bet you
way
that's
back in
eating.
November 2023.
I bet you that's eating his ass alive every single day and night. The fact that you had an opportunity to make all of this shit go away.
Woo! Y'all, it's a lot, it's a lot, it's a lot. So in just a few short weeks, jury selection will start. We will eventually hear opening statements from prosecution and defense, and then the witnesses will be called to the stand. And this is what a legal reckoning looks like, ladies and gentlemen. All right, y'all know we're going to be covering it, every inch of it, right here on Holding Court. So that's it. That's it. We will keep you updated. Now,
That's right.
moving on. This gentleman here in New York by the name of Jerome DeWall. Oh, Jerome. Jerome was Jerome was in civil court. So this is not a criminal case. This is civil court, y'all. And he decided that this was an employment dispute. Okay, so he's what you say, Dustin?
I cannot. This is just
This is the most. This is the absolute fucking most, y'all. Like, this is the kind of shit you can't make it up. Okay, so this guy's in an employment dispute with his former employer, brings lawsuit against him, decides, as is his legal right, that he's going to represent himself at the appellate level. So he lost at the initial trial level, and so appeals, and here he is representing himself pro se at the appellate level. Now, we could have a conversation for those that decide it's wise to represent yourself, but hey, listen, he probably ran out of funds, couldn't afford to retain an actual attorney, so here he is in his own capacity. So he's working pro se for himself. He's arguing a case to reverse the lower court's decision against his former employer. Now, the court allows him to do so because, again, that is, and y'all should know that, you can always represent yourself in any case, criminal or civil. The court also says you can bring a pre-recorded video presentation in as a part of your representation, as a part of your argument. Great. Here's the issue, y'all. When the video starts playing, it shows Mr. DeWall, but it's like, I mean, it shows a man, and it doesn't look like Mr. DeWall. It says this image is a younger man. Mr. DeWall is a very senior citizen. He's 74 years old. So this image he's seeing, y'all, in this making this argument is like a younger looking man, has on a blue collar shirt, a beige sweater, and he's standing in front of a blurred virtual background. Think Zoom. Okay?
I cannot.
Think Zoom. So a few seconds, not minutes, a few seconds into the video, one of the judges, so, you know, appellate is a series of judges, justices, really. So one of the justices says, "Excuse me, pause. That does not look like you, sir, Mr. DeWall. Who is this? Is this your actual lawyer? Fill us in, because this ain't, the math is not mathing." So a few seconds into the video, Mr. DeWall says, "I generated that. That is not a real person. That's AI." Okay. The justice is not amused at all, Dustin, and says this is a quote: "It would have been nice to know that when you made your application. I don't appreciate being misled." And when a judge tells you that, that is not where you want to be. The judge then instructs Mr. DeWall to turn off the recording. And then this is where it just all goes left. Mr. DeWall failed to disclose that he created this digital avatar version of himself using AI, artificial intelligence software. Then now he's backpedaling. Mr. DeWall said that he was overwhelmed. He was embarrassed. He sent the judges and justices letters of apology, expressing his deep regret, acknowledging that he had inadvertently misled the court, but he didn't mean to do it. Yeah, I'm sure that went over well. And he said, this is important, Dustin. He said that the reason that he resorted to using software, the AI, is because he was so intimidated. He was so stressed out around the expectation of representing himself in this high, this high level appellate legal proceeding, that basically he thought that the AI could help take some of the pressure off. He thought it would make him, not so nervous and not so exposed, I guess. He said he planned to make the digital version of himself. He tried to make it him, but he couldn't figure that part out. And so he just went with the fake person instead. He said my intent was never to deceive, but rather to present my arguments in the most efficient manner possible. However, I recognize that proper disclosure and transparency must always take precedent. So this is, trying to be cute, trying to chat GPT your way in or out of it, AI in and out of it, fucked around and found out. The justice was not pleased. Told him to turn that shit off. And I don't think this is going to bode well for the ultimate outcome of his case. And I just want to be clear, y'all, this ain't the first time that somebody's tried it in terms of AI in U.S. courtrooms. Just a couple years ago, 2023, New York is just always on the vanguard of some shit. I mean, a New York lawyer faced severe repercussions, and this is an actual lawyer doing it, after he used ChatGPT to create a legal brief. That brief, shockingly, riddled with fake judicial opinions, bad legal citations, and it showed just how misguided, how lazy, how ineffective and incompetent it is to rely on AI and artificial intelligence and ChatGPT and shit to do the actual work of lawyering.
First of all, it's fucking disrespectful as fuck. Okay, let's start there. And it also shows that you're not taking your situation seriously at all. If you're willing to do that and try to be sneaky and deceitful, not disclose it. The legal system is about facts and accuracy and determination. Things that you can't depend on artificial intelligence for. And the fact that I think it should be illegal. It needs to be federally fucking regulated, which good luck with that, but it needs to be federally regulated. That's not permissible. It's not. That's straight up disrespectful as fuck to people like you, Ebony, who have put in blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah, you know what I mean. That's a gift that people have, being a good attorney, a good lawyer. That's not something that anybody can do. And so learning the rules of engagement amongst people, learning how to just
make the argument.
Make that argument and shit. That you can't rely on ChatGPT for that. And I do not blame that judge for going the fuck off one bit. I would have really went off. My shit would have been viral because I'd have cussed their ass out. Okay.
No, and that's the thing, because people have to remember, before these judges were judges, they were lawyers. And I think people forget that, Dustin.
Right.
You know
that's
what I mean?
Disrespectful as hell.
Yeah, every judge you see with a black robe sitting on a bench somewhere used to be a lawyer in some capacity.
Right.
We've all taken and passed somebody's bar exam, which means we have all availed ourselves to the thresholds, the necessary required thresholds of this profession. And we take this shit seriously. We actually take it seriously, which is actually why you see some of these judges, Republican included, popping the fuck off on Trump's ass. Yep. We don't like to be played with when it comes to the thing that most of us sacrifice so much to be a part of, which
literal
is a practitioner.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Yes. Literal book, baby. Auntie E was crying like a motherfucker first year. Let me stop. But no, I really was. But I absolutely was. Absolutely was. And I wasn't by myself. So a few things here, Dustin. Everything you said about the disrespect of the profession itself. Now, here's the truth. A lot of people on a lot of jobs, in a lot of industries, everything from finance to law to marketing to journalism. I mean, people are really out here taking these shortcuts and cutting these corners. And listen, there are some places for AI to elevate, advance, expedite certain professions. I'm not saying that that's totally off the table. We know it's not. But let's, kind of like Dustin's saying, let's be a little smarter. Let's be a little more judicial. Ha ha ha. And when and how we select, when and how we use this technology. See, this is the problem. People have no discipline, Dustin. This is a complete lack of discipline, and a complete lack of discernment. when it comes to when and how to use this technology that can totally elevate our society in many ways. But when we do it like this, it sets us back. Now, I also want to say this is not like way, way uncharted territory. So when I was coming up, I'm old enough. Again, y'all got to remember, I started studying the law over 20 years ago.
Right.
Literally. Okay. So I'm old enough, Dustin, to remember when I was in law school, I started law school in 2004, so 21 years ago, right at the crux of like case law becoming digitalized, right? So this was kind of, I mean, these things had existed a little bit before I got to law school, but it was really becoming popular in use. Things like Westlaw, things like LexisNexis, these digital platforms where you pay money and then they do a lot of this work for you by way of, making sure that the case law is good or, hurry, in a speedy way. Like if you type in, hey, I need case law on the elements of, domestic abuse in the state of Oklahoma. Boom, 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 boom. And they'll bring them. But like, how do you realize what's good case law versus not good case law, what's applicable versus not? A lot of that, there's this old school method called shepherdizing. And I'm old enough, Dustin, to remember we had a professor my first year of law school that would not allow us to use the electronic tools. We weren't allowed to get on Westlaw. We weren't allowed to get on LexisNexis. You know why? Because his old ass, may he rest in peace, made us get it out the mud. He said, my students are going to know how to shepherdize case law by hand. They're going to know how to go into the, dare we say, literal brick and mortar library.
Talk about it,
pull
Ebony.
that case book off the fucking shelf and open it up and look and figure out what case and what year and by hand go through and comb through the progeny of the cases, Dustin Ross, and make sure that it is indeed good law. And it is because I learned it old school like that I have the legal lens that I have today. And I say that to say, technology is a great thing. God knows.
It has its place, yeah.
It has its place. But thinking that we're going to shortchange hundreds-year-old processes and all of a sudden Chat GPT and AI are going to replace the brilliance and the discipline and the know-how of trained practitioners, y'all better learn today.
You better figure it out.
Figure it out. So everybody that's in law school now or talking shit like, oh, I ain't gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna worry about this training or this degree or this credential because AI gonna take over anyway. This is a perfect case, and that's why I put this on the docket, because I need y'all to see the limitations in real time of the AI of it all. That's it.
Yeah. I have my feelings about AI, but I'm with Ebony on this one. I've talked about it in other spaces, but fuck AI. I just put it like that, okay? Fuck AI.
Like it. Yeah.
We old school. We cook from scratch around here. We'll just put it like that, okay?
Yeah. Well, and I thought about you too. I thought about you when I was at your stand-up show because there's so many comedians and artists and actors and public speakers. It's like people aren't writing speeches anymore. They just dropping shit in the Chat GPT and they not writing jokes no more. They just dropping shit. It just really don't hit the same. Period. It really, really don't. You want to throw it in there to write some bylaws right quick for your mama's nonprofit, I guess.
It just does not work. If it's not a tool to aid in the process of me creating, I don't want it. If it does not, I don't want anything that is stepping on or overlapping my human ability to create. You know what I'm saying?
Gift.
That's the whole gift.
That is the actual gift.
You can't fake that. So
you cannot. Michael Cohen found out. Y'all know that ridiculous one. He used to be Team Trump until he got them charges on him. Anyways, he also got cited by the court for using AI to help him with some legal work and had bad citations, bad case law. And see, that's the thing about AI. You can use it if you want to. Fuck around, get cited. Fuck around, get disbarred. So that's it. That's all, y'all. Just show some discipline. Show some discipline with this technology, y'all, before it discipline your ass.
There you go, right there.
All right, y'all. Join us again. We will be back. Court will be back in session. Listen, He's risen. We on the other side of it.
That's right.
know?
He got up.
Spring is absolutely upon us. We are in the awakening, and I love to see it. I love to see it. I know these allergies are kicking all of our asses.
I mean,
so do whatever you need to do for that. Take care of you. And what you want the people to do, Dustin?
Read your terms and conditions, and don't use no damn AI to do it.
There you go. Holding Court is produced by Uppity Production. Host and executive producers here, Ebony K. Williams, yours truly, and the Dustin Ross. Executive producer in Dossie, McCraw. We've also got our senior producer, Ashley Hobbs. And follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any and everywhere you get your podcasts.